This is Total Outdoor Programming. So this week we're going to bring you a cooking video. Springtime, one of my favorite times of the year. I love going out walleye fishing, turkey hunting, and morel mushroom hunting. So the hardest part is actually finding the ingredients. It takes a little bit of luck to find some morel mushrooms, and of course to get a turkey and some walleye, takes a little bit of effort too. So I was lucky enough to be able to get all three this season, and I thought I might as well go ahead and throw together one of my favorite recipes. You'll want to go ahead and cut them in half lengthwise and then soak them in some water. Some people actually add some salt to it too to maybe help it work a little bit quicker, but leave those soaking for about 30 minutes, not long enough to actually make the mushroom get soft, but just enough to go ahead and get anything that might still be inhabiting this out of there. If you guys have already lost your appetite at this point, then maybe this recipe is not for you, but that's part of morel mushrooms, so make sure you soak these things so you get anything that's living in there out of it. If you've watched our fishing video on our trip to the Maumee River that we do every year, these are actually some of the walleye that we caught that day. One of the best eating freshwater fish out there in my opinion. With just a little bit of extra time when you're actually filleting the walleyes, you can remove the walleye cheeks too. Just do a scooping motion. You can even make the initial cut with your fillet knife, and then I'll take a spoon with me and just put it in there and work it around, and these flip right out. And those are great to go with the mushrooms in the mushroom sauce that we'll make eventually. And we'll go ahead and remove any bones that happen to still be in there. This actually contains some bones in there, so we'll dispose of that. Then we'll just cut the walleye fillet into 4 easy to work with sections. Next, you'll just want to lightly coat the fillets with a little bit of olive oil. Then you can just pour your favorite fish breading into a container and go ahead and coat both sides of the fish. The turkey tenderloins are the smaller piece that lays underneath the breast when you remove it. They're very tender, however, they do have a type of a tendon that runs through them, so I usually try and remove that, and that'll separate it into 2 pieces. Now we'll take your favorite type of Italian dressing and just go ahead and coat both sides. You can actually marinate this overnight in a bag if you prefer. The mushrooms have soaked now for about 30 minutes, so we're going to go ahead and cut off the top section and save most of those for later on in the recipe. And the bottom section we're going to cut into a few smaller pieces and save those for the sauce that we'll be making. You can use some of the tops in the sauce also. Next, you'll want to go ahead and start your rice. Now I'm just going to use rice-a-roni straight from the box. You can use your favorite brand or whatever. Now if you're making this recipe in turkey camp, it's a lot easier to just make the rice ahead of time and bring it with you. Now you want to go ahead and take some green onions and go ahead and cut those up. Now we're going to start working on the sauce. So I'm going to go ahead and cook this in a cast iron skillet. We'll start by melting a stick of butter in the pan. I should have probably given a disclaimer that this is not exactly a horribly healthy recipe. This is a good cooking camp recipe. I'm sure there's substitutions you could do to make it a little bit more healthy. This is energy food. This is food for people that are going out fishing, mushroom hunting, turkey hunting. We're going to go ahead and add all of the mushrooms that we broke up into small pieces. If you saved any walleye cheeks, you can cut those into small pieces and add that into the sauce at this time too. Now as that's cooking down, you'll want to go ahead and add some salt and pepper to taste. Careful not to add too much salt because there's going to be plenty of salt in the other ingredients that you're going to be adding later on to this dish. A little bit of garlic too. Now that the mushrooms are starting to cook down a little bit, you want to turn the heat down a little and go ahead and add the green onions. Next you'll want to add about half a cup of milk or half and half. Mix that in and it'll start to thicken a little bit already. And then you can just put a little bit of flour in, sprinkle some flour in and mix it for a little while. Let it simmer, do it again until it gets to the thickness that you want. You won't want to add too much flour or else you'll ruin the flavor. Now we've removed the sauce and set that to the side. We're going to go ahead and take our turkey tenderloins, put those in the pan. And I'm just going to sprinkle these with a little bit of blackened seasoning. This is from Zatarain's. You can use whatever kind you like best. and you want to be careful on how much you put on there. If you really like a lot of spice, put a lot on there. If you don't, be careful because this will spice it up pretty quick. Since the tenderloins are so thin, they're not going to take much time to cook, so we're just going to leave them for about a minute or two on this side, and then we'll flip it over and go a minute or two on the other side. Now we're going to need a little bit more butter in order to be able to cook the walleye and the mushrooms. When it comes to cooking the fish and the mushrooms, you can actually cook that in vegetable oil or olive oil if you prefer. While the butter's heating up to cooking temperature, we'll go ahead and dredge the mushroom in white flour. Make sure and coat both sides. Now that the butter's reached the right temperature, we're going to go ahead and drop the fish in. About 3 minutes on this side and then flip it 3 minutes on the other side. You'll be able to tell when it's done when you can put the knife in and just turn it, and it'll start to gently flake apart real easy. Now that the fish is done, we'll go ahead and add the mushrooms. We're just going to let them brown on one side, carefully flip them over, brown on the other side, and the mushrooms will be done. So now just remove the mushrooms from the pan, just lightly season those with just a little bit of salt, not much. And then you want to go ahead and grab the original sauce that you had made and go ahead and put that back in the pan. That's going to capture some of the flavors from the turkey, the walleye, and the mushrooms, and combine it all together. You're just going to let this cook down just a little bit. Add just a little bit more flour to thicken it up just a hair. You want to add the sauce on top of the rice, and then just layer your walleye, turkey, and mushrooms on the dish. For some reason you don't get your own turkey, you can use chicken tenderloins from the store, or turkey tenderloins. You can get those at the store too. And there's all kinds of substitutions you can use for the walleye, tilapia, things like that. And as far as the morel mushrooms, you can find a substitute, but I'd highly recommend you just hit the woods and find them yourself. Well, that's how you make my favorite springtime recipe. I don't really have a name for it. If you have a good name, leave it in the comment line. Maybe we'll call it that. And as always, keep subscribing. We'll keep more videos coming for you. Now I'm gonna go eat this. Why am I wearing the Squirrels Gone Wild shirt? Cooking wild game. Squirrels. I think it's cool.
So you're saying that the metal pot you're cooking in, sitting on a fire, got hot?
It's a little warmer than I thought.
Huh, odd, yeah.
He's in too quick. They're gonna drop right down to the bottom on the basket. They're gonna stick to the bottom.
You're going down, dude.